World Youth Day is an invitation from God to be a saint.
Well, we're all called to be saints. Everyone's called to be a saint. It's up to the person, I suppose, to participate in that and to strive to be a saint themselves.
Jesus wants us to all be saints, every single one of us, and we just need to make an effort to become better and improve ourselves.
To be a saint is not impossible. God has called all of us here to be saints and to be holy.
To be a saint, I suppose, would be to answer God's calling 100%. It means handing God a blank check, not holding back and thinking, what can I do for myself, but really asking what I can do for God. And that's, I think, what it means to be a saint.
Trying to be a saint is achieving holiness. I think if your goal in life is to be a saint, then holiness comes naturally.
Holiness is coming closer to God and becoming more like Jesus through His grace and through His transformation.
There's no other way of describing it because it's not something that you can, that you can really physically see.
But in opening your heart to God, I think that is an act of holiness in itself because you're receiving something from that which is holy.
People can, look a certain way, but really inside be something else. It's really more of an internal thing. It's more of what your aim is.
To always strive in everything that we do to live out a good life and to live out a wholesome life for Christ.
God can't do anything if we're not receiving His holiness and if we're not magnifying that. So God could be as holy as He wants, but if we don't do anything, where's it going to go?
Oh, the world needs saints more than ever now. We've come to that time where we're facing a very big crisis and we need people to answer God's call.
You only become yourself when you give of yourself, when you lay down your life for others, and the saints are perfect examples of that.
To be a saint in holiness is to strive to enter heaven, to be more like Jesus and His disciples.
It's not easy to become a saint. There's so many struggles and so many things out there at the moment that not just tells you not to be a saint, but really makes it hard for you to become a saint.
To be a saint in today's world is difficult because we have so many, other distractions and there's so much secularism, especially here in Australia.
What inspires me is other people, when I see other people and what they've done for God. And I think that's a human being who's been so inspired by God to do this amazing thing. And Jesus is calling me to work with that same passion.
They left an example for us, a way that we can then become more like Christ. And different saints speak to different people, and it's because it relates to our lives. But yeah, it helps us to understand that God can really work through our lives.
You see that in the most lowly of saints. They've had everything against them. They're unknown, they're poor, they don't, maybe they're sick. They're not the smartest if they're kind, and yet they can still accomplish these great things for God, and they can still have this overflowing heart for God. And when you think how much we've been given, how could you not be inspired by that, to love Him more and to do more for Him and to strive every day to do better for Him?
True happiness is holiness.
Yeah, all the saints are, I think, some of the happiest people there are, especially a lot of the saints who face tremendous difficulties seem to be have a real sense of joy in themselves.
Some people have a perception that if you're holy, then you're not happy, or if you're seeking God's way, then there's going to be a lot of trials and a lot of difficulties, but it's actually through all that you do truly become happy, and it's a genuine happiness.
If you are a saint, you will be happy because God created us with a plan to be happy, to be fully happy, and to fulfill that is to be a saint.
That comes from being so close to God. You can kind of see through the troubles of this life and see it on a supernatural level, and I think that's why they're so happy.
The saints are my role model. They give me like a guideline, an example of how it is to live my life.
Pier Giorgio Frassati, witness to justice and charity. Mainly because he's, he had a passion to serve the poor. At the same time, he was a normal guy. He did the normal things, things that he got in trouble for, things that he was praised for, things that people didn't know about.
Saint Therese calls us and encourages us to do the ordinary things in life in a really extraordinary way.
Saint Therese of Lisieux, one of the patron saints of World Youth Day, says there's a unique way of holiness for every person.
The 7 of God, John 4:2. He's just beautiful. I remember reading about him after he died that when he'd speak to people, the people that he was speaking to would sometimes feel like they were the only person in the room, that he gave them his full attention. It was such an awesome presence, and really it mimicked the presence of God in our lives. That really he is the father of World Youth Days.
John Paul II calls us to be saints of the new millennium.
Blessed Peter Tarot, Catechist and First Martyr of Papua New Guinea.
Saint Maria Goretti, Martyr of Chastity.
St. Peter Chanel, First Martyr of Oceania.
Blessed Mary MacKillop, witness of service and charity to the poor.
She dedicated her life to educate the poor and to serve others with the love of Christ. Mary MacKillop is the first blessed of Australia.
Blessed Teresa of Calcutta, servant to the poor and the dying.
Saint Faustina, Apostle of Divine Mercy.
Our Lady of the Southern Cross, Help of Christians.
God is calling us to be saints, to mirror God's love, and by being a saint, we can change the world.